Not everyone is meant to shine early, and one of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that a slow start means a small future. Modern society celebrates people who become successful at a young age, making it easy to think that if your biggest achievements have not arrived yet, then you are already falling behind. But psychology tells a very different story. Some minds are built for quick rewards, while others develop through years of quiet learning, deep thinking, and careful observation before their true strengths become visible. Interestingly, one of the rarest personality types often follows this second path. These individuals may spend years feeling overlooked, misunderstood, or even doubtful of themselves, only to reach remarkable success much later in life. Their progress is rarely loud or dramatic in the beginning, because much of their growth happens beneath the surface, where no one else can see it. Instead of chasing attention, they build wisdom. Instead of rushing toward short-term victories, they develop skills and perspectives that continue to grow stronger over time. This is why many people completely misunderstand their journey until the results become impossible to ignore. Throughout this video, you will discover the hidden psychological patterns that explain why this rare personality type often succeeds later than others. You will learn why deep thinkers frequently take longer to find their direction, how patience can become a powerful advantage, why early struggles often prepare them for lasting success, and which habits quietly separate them from people who peak too soon. You may even recognize these patterns in your own life, or in someone close to you. By the end, you will see that success is not always measured by how quickly it arrives, but by how deeply it is built. The final pattern is perhaps the most surprising because it explains why many late achievers continue growing long after others have stopped improving. So stay with us until the very end, because each pattern builds on the last and reveals a bigger picture that most people never notice. Welcome to Mindful Patterns, where we explore the hidden psychology behind human behavior, personal growth, and success. If you enjoy thoughtful content that helps you better understand yourself and the world around you, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community. The first pattern is one that many people misunderstand because it does not look impressive from the outside. Most people are taught to chase visible success as quickly as possible. They are encouraged to collect achievements, gain recognition, and reach important milestones before everyone else. This creates the belief that moving fast is always better than moving carefully. But people with this rare personality type often follow a completely different path. Instead of focusing on what others can see, they spend years building qualities that cannot be measured by awards, titles, or public attention. Their first priority is not looking successful. Their first priority is becoming capable. This difference changes everything about the way they approach life. While others are searching for quick victories, they are quietly improving their skills, expanding their knowledge, and learning lessons that will continue helping them for decades. From the outside, it may appear as though very little is happening. Friends may move ahead faster, classmates may receive promotions earlier, family members may wonder why their progress seems slower. Yet beneath that quiet surface, a different kind of growth is taking place. Every experience becomes another piece of a much larger foundation. Every mistake becomes another lesson. Every challenge becomes another opportunity to understand themselves more deeply. They rarely rush because they know that real mastery cannot be built overnight. They would rather spend years becoming excellent than spend weeks becoming popular. This mindset often delays visible success during their younger years because society usually rewards speed before depth. Fast results receive attention. Careful preparation often goes unnoticed. But time slowly changes this picture. As life becomes more complex, people who focused only on quick success may struggle when difficult problems appear. Meanwhile, those who spent years strengthening their abilities often discover that they are finally ready for opportunities that require patience, wisdom, and experience. Their success may arrive later, but it is usually built on stronger ground because it comes from genuine ability rather than temporary momentum. They understand that recognition can disappear, but true skill remains. That is why they invest in themselves long before anyone else notices their potential. Their biggest advantage is not speed, it is depth. This depth influences almost every decision they make. They do not enjoy learning only enough to appear knowledgeable. They want to understand why things work the way they do. If they begin a new skill, They naturally become curious about every detail. If they enter a new career, they want to understand the system instead of memorizing simple rules. This habit often makes them slower than people who prefer shortcuts. They ask more questions. They spend more time practicing. They revisit mistakes instead of ignoring them. Many people mistake this careful process for hesitation or lack of confidence, but it is actually a different form of intelligence. They know that shallow knowledge creates shallow results. Deep understanding creates lasting confidence. As the years pass, this difference becomes more obvious. While others need constant guidance, these individuals often solve problems independently because they understand the deeper principles behind what they are doing. They are not simply repeating information. They have made that knowledge part of the way they think. This explains why many of them become respected experts later in life. Their journey may have started quietly, but it was never empty. Every invisible year was preparing them for visible success. While others follow trends, they spend more time understanding why those trends exist. This brings us to another defining pattern of this rare personality type. They naturally question ideas instead of accepting them without thought. Many people feel comfortable believing what everyone else believes because it creates a sense of belonging. Following common opinions requires very little mental effort, but these individuals often find themselves asking deeper questions. Why is this considered true? What evidence supports it? Could there be another explanation that people are missing? This habit does not come from wanting to argue with others. It comes from genuine curiosity. Their minds are rarely satisfied with simple answers. They want complete answers. They enjoy exploring different viewpoints before reaching a conclusion. This often slows their decision-making because they refuse to act before understanding the situation fully. Some people may see this as overthinking, but psychology suggests that reflective thinking can reduce impulsive choices and improve long-term judgment. Rather than reacting emotionally, they pause and evaluate. They compare different possibilities. They search for patterns that others overlook. This reflective approach allows them to avoid many mistakes that happen when decisions are made too quickly. They understand that first impressions are not always accurate. Popular opinions are not always correct. Confidence is not always a sign of competence. Because of this, they are less likely to be influenced by temporary excitement or public pressure. They build opinions slowly, but once they reach a conclusion, it is usually supported by careful reasoning instead of emotion alone. This independent way of thinking also helps them adapt when circumstances change. Since they never depended entirely on accepted beliefs, they are more willing to adjust their understanding when new evidence appears. Many people resist change because changing their opinion feels uncomfortable. These individuals see learning as an ongoing process rather than a finished destination. They are comfortable admitting that they do not know everything because they value truth more than pride. This humility becomes one of their greatest strengths over time. It allows them to continue growing while others become trapped by their own certainty. Their curiosity keeps expanding their understanding year after year. Every question opens another door. Every answer leads to another question. This constant cycle of learning develops remarkable wisdom because they are never satisfied with surface-level explanations. They continue searching until they understand the deeper structure beneath the obvious answer. Although this process often requires patience, it produces decisions that remain valuable long after passing trends disappear. Growth often happens where no one is watching. This becomes especially true when looking at another important characteristic of this personality type. Unlike many people who constantly seek approval, they often feel comfortable spending time alone. Solitude does not automatically mean loneliness. These are two very different experiences. Loneliness is the painful feeling of lacking meaningful connection. Solitude is the deliberate choice to spend time with one's own thoughts. People with this personality type often discover that some of their greatest insights appear during quiet moments away from constant noise. They use this time to think, reflect, read, create, and recover mentally. Instead of depending on continuous praise from others, they become familiar with their own inner voice. This gives them a stable sense of direction that is less affected by changing opinions around them. While others may constantly compare themselves to friends, coworkers, or social expectations, these individuals spend more energy comparing themselves to the person they were yesterday. Their progress becomes deeply personal rather than competitive. Because they are less dependent on external validation, they often feel freer to explore unusual ideas. They are willing to study subjects that others ignore. They are comfortable working on projects that may not receive immediate attention. They do not abandon meaningful goals simply because nobody is applauding yet. This independence protects their creativity because it allows original thinking to develop without constant pressure to fit in. Many of history's most creative breakthroughs came from people who spent long periods working quietly before anyone recognized their value. Although recognition eventually arrived, the important work had already been completed long before the applause began. Their quiet lifestyle also supports emotional recovery. Modern life constantly demands attention, decisions, conversations, and information. Many people never give their minds enough time to process these experiences. Individuals with this personality type naturally create space for reflection. During these quiet periods, they organize their thoughts, understand their emotions, and connect experiences that once seemed unrelated. This mental recovery improves clarity and strengthens emotional resilience. Instead of reacting immediately to every challenge, they develop the ability to respond thoughtfully. Over time, this calm approach builds confidence that comes from self-understanding rather than outside approval. They trust themselves because they have spent years listening to their own thoughts, instead of depending entirely on the opinions of others. Their mind is not slow, it is thorough. This final pattern explains why so many of them become experts later in life, even if they seemed average during their younger years. Their learning process is fundamentally different from people who focus only on speed. They rarely memorize information simply to pass a test or complete a task. They want to understand how different ideas connect together. Instead of collecting isolated facts, they build complete mental frameworks. Every new lesson becomes linked to previous experiences, making their understanding stronger over time. This process naturally requires more patience because building deep knowledge takes longer than memorizing simple answers. During school or early careers, this may create frustration because quick learners often receive immediate praise. These individuals sometimes wonder why confidence comes so easily to everyone else, while they still feel uncertain. But their slower confidence has an important advantage. It grows from genuine understanding rather than temporary success. As their experience expands, everything they learned begins connecting into a much larger picture. Problems that once seemed complicated become easier because they recognize patterns hidden beneath the surface. Their knowledge becomes flexible instead of rigid. They can apply it to new situations because they understand the principles instead of memorized instructions. This is why many of them continue improving long after others stop learning. Their expertise is not built through shortcuts, but through years of careful reflection, patient practice, and a willingness to keep learning long after the excitement of the beginning has disappeared. The fifth pattern is perhaps the easiest to overlook because it rarely attracts attention in the beginning. Many people spend years chasing status. They believe a respected job title, a large income, expensive possessions, or public recognition will automatically bring happiness. From an early age, society teaches people to compete with one another. Success is often measured by who earns more, who reaches the top first, or who receives the most admiration. But this rare personality type usually sees life through a different lens. They care far more about meaning than appearances. Before making an important decision, they often ask themselves one simple question: does this truly matter to me? If the answer is no, they find it difficult to devote years of their life to it, no matter how impressive it may look to everyone else. This is why their journey often seems slower than other people's. They are not interested in collecting achievements that leave them feeling empty inside. They would rather spend extra years searching for work that feels worthwhile than quickly accept a path that does not match their values. While others may change careers because of money or prestige alone, these individuals often make decisions based on purpose. They want their work to feel meaningful. They want their effort to improve something. They want to finish each day believing their time was spent on something that truly matters. Because finding that kind of purpose is rarely simple, their careers often develop much later than expected. They experiment. They explore different interests. They question whether they are moving in the right direction. Sometimes this makes them feel uncertain while watching friends reach traditional milestones much earlier. Yet these years are not wasted. Every experience teaches them more about themselves. Every job reveals another piece of what gives their life meaning. Over time, this self-knowledge becomes one of their greatest strengths. Once they finally discover work that aligns with their values, they often commit to it with remarkable focus because they know exactly why they are doing it. They are no longer working simply to impress others. They are working because their efforts reflect who they are. This creates a kind of motivation that lasts much longer than external rewards. Recognition may fade, praise may disappear, money alone may stop feeling exciting after a while. But meaningful work continues providing satisfaction because it connects deeply with personal purpose. This is one reason many people with this personality type remain passionate about their work long after others become exhausted. Their energy comes from believing in what they are building rather than constantly trying to prove themselves to everyone around them. They aren't trying to impress people, they're trying to build a life they won't regret. This mindset changes how they respond when life becomes difficult. Many people fear failure because they believe every mistake damages their reputation. They avoid challenges that carry even a small chance of embarrassment. As a result, they stop growing without realizing it. This rare personality type often experiences failure differently. Failure still hurts. Disappointment still feels real. But instead of allowing those experiences to define them, they become curious about them. They ask what went wrong. They examine their own decisions honestly. They look for lessons hidden inside painful moments. While other people focus on protecting their pride, these individuals focus on improving themselves. This attitude slowly transforms failure from an ending into a teacher. Every setback becomes another source of knowledge. Every mistake becomes another opportunity to become wiser. This process is not comfortable. It requires humility because admitting mistakes is never easy. It also requires patience because improvement rarely happens overnight. But each difficult experience strengthens qualities that cannot easily be learned from success alone. Emotional resilience grows through disappointment. Self-awareness develops through honest reflection. Wisdom often appears after expectations have been broken. People who succeed very early sometimes miss these important lessons because life has not yet challenged their confidence. They may mistake good fortune for permanent ability. They may believe success will continue automatically. Individuals who struggle first often develop a much stronger foundation because they have already learned how to recover when things fall apart. They understand uncertainty. They know how to begin again. They have practiced adapting instead of giving up. Over time, these experiences create remarkable emotional strength. Problems that would overwhelm others become manageable because they have survived difficult seasons before. They stop fearing failure quite as much because they understand it is temporary. More importantly, they recognize that every obstacle contains information that can improve future decisions. Instead of asking why failure happened to them, they begin asking what failure is trying to teach them. That simple shift changes everything. Growth accelerates because every setback becomes useful instead of meaningless. Confidence becomes quieter but much stronger because it is built on real experience rather than perfect outcomes. These individuals do not expect life to be easy. They expect themselves to continue learning regardless of what happens. That expectation gives them remarkable endurance during long periods when visible success has not yet arrived. While others lose motivation after repeated disappointments, they continue moving forward because they know progress is often hidden long before it becomes obvious. What looks like failure is often invisible preparation. This idea leads naturally into the final pattern that explains why so many of these individuals achieve their greatest success later in adulthood. They never stop learning. Curiosity remains one of the strongest forces in their lives. Even after mastering one skill, they immediately become interested in understanding another. They read widely. They explore unfamiliar ideas. They ask thoughtful questions. They remain open to changing their opinions when better information appears. Many people slowly become comfortable with what they already know. Once they establish a career or routine, learning begins to slow down. Their knowledge reaches a point where it no longer grows very quickly. This rare personality type follows the opposite pattern. Every year adds another layer of understanding. Every conversation teaches them something new. Every challenge introduces another skill. Because learning never stops, knowledge begins to compound. Ideas collected over many years start connecting in unexpected ways. Skills from different areas combine into unique strengths that few other people possess. This is why their growth often seems slow at first, but becomes much faster later in life. Early on, they are quietly collecting pieces of a much larger puzzle. The complete picture is not yet visible. But as those pieces continue fitting together, their abilities begin expanding rapidly. Experience strengthens judgment. Knowledge improves creativity. Patience supports better decisions. Adaptability allows them to handle change with confidence instead of fear. They become comfortable entering unfamiliar situations because they trust their ability to keep learning. This mindset is especially valuable in a world that changes constantly. Careers evolve. Technology advances. New challenges appear every year. People who stop learning often struggle to adapt. Those who remain curious continue finding opportunities because they are willing to grow alongside the changing world. Their age becomes an advantage instead of a limitation, because every additional year brings more understanding rather than more resistance to change. They recognize that personal development has no finish line. Every stage of life offers another opportunity to become wiser, more capable, and more thoughtful than before. Instead of measuring themselves against the timeline of others, they measure themselves against the person they were yesterday. That quiet habit of continuous improvement slowly creates extraordinary results. The race doesn't end at 30. For some people, that's where it truly begins. Success is often judged by the moment people notice it. But the truth is that the most meaningful victories usually begin long before anyone else can see them. Throughout this video, we explored 7 patterns that often appear in people who reach their greatest achievements later in life. They spend years building instead of chasing quick rewards. They question ideas instead of blindly following them. They find strength in solitude, learn with patience, value purpose over status, turn failure into wisdom, and continue growing long after others become comfortable. None of these qualities produce instant results, but together they create something much more valuable. They create a strong foundation that can support lasting success. If you recognize yourself in these patterns, remember that moving at a different pace does not mean you are moving in the wrong direction. Every person has a unique timeline, and comparing your journey to someone else's only distracts you from your own growth. Many of the most important changes happen quietly. Confidence develops through experience. Wisdom grows through reflection. Character is shaped by challenges. These are the kinds of achievements that cannot always be measured, yet they often become the reason someone succeeds later when others begin to lose momentum. Not everyone is designed to peak early, and there is nothing wrong with that. Some people are meant to spend more time learning, adapting, and discovering who they truly are before life reveals the opportunities they have been preparing for. If your progress feels slow,